you're really focusing on one thing, which I think is important, is like Kelowna specific needs. Like, and maybe it's just Matt and I and like the real estate agent industry, but the last 2 years, it seems like provincially, there's been a lot of kind of blanket policies that don't fit Kelowna.
Absolutely.
And I know, speaking with you a little bit before this, like Kelowna feels a little flat right now for whatever reason. And we are such a, like an entrepreneurial based community with tech sector, which like, thank you. You obviously added huge to that and Club Penguin and all that kind of stuff. Like moving forward, ideally, like what would benefit Kelowna specifically in terms of like, how do we get our vibe back?
Mm-hmm.
How do we get the economy going like locally again?
Mm-hmm.
How do we get like the real estate market fair and balanced? Like these are obviously like very tough questions, but yeah, like
Yeah,
what are
well,
the first, 5 things you're going to do in
save the
Kelowna?
world.
Yeah, exactly.
Ashley, what are you going to deliver under the Christmas tree this year? Okay, look, so there's a lot, right? So there's a lot from mental health addictions, like there's all of those social issues, and then there's the economy. And so my approach is sort of entrepreneurial. So I think like the block and tackle approach. So when you're in a big company tackling many issues, which I do see the province as sort of a company, I see it as a business, right? Like that's how I see it. So what first, right? What's the foundation? So I do believe in personal tax cuts. I fully support that. With BC United being announced for up to $50,000, you wouldn't pay taxes. Okay. So, but I actually think it needs to be a bit higher. So when we get down there and there are any discussions of that, fully thumbs up to that. We have to kind of stop the bleeding. I think people need a breath right now. I call it BC needs a breath. And the same goes for business. So once you do that tax cut, and I'm just talking about one little area here, that's kind of the foundation of the lift. And then I'm going to get into tech and business. So the second thing that'll start happening is, guess what happens when people have money? They spend it, right? And so our restaurants super struggling after this summer, right? And I think like once you get people feeling a bit of a breath, it's called the Vibenomics. There's actually a new term around the vibe economy. We're having a vibe right now, and it's not a good one. Everybody's a little bit like, like I don't want to spend money because I'm nervous that there's something going to be around the corner, and then what's the next shoe that's going to drop? So let's just ease that. Okay. Then we deal with this fuel tax, the carbon tax. So, I think we need a lot of discussion around that too, but ultimately we need to remove that in some capacity. I don't know what that looks like. I don't have enough information, and I'm very clear about that, but I do support a lot of these breaks. Once that starts happening, people have a different vibe, and now they're out and businesses are feeling a little like looser and they're more successful. In business, I do feel like with the implementation of increase to the minimum wage, increase to the sick days, that was all sent to them from the NDP government. Like there was nothing of a give back. So business was told, well, you have to increase your minimum wage within, I think it was like a few months, don't quote me, but it was really quick, like turnaround. So not only is this business struggling, but now they've got to pay more minimum wage, which I totally support paying minimum wage. But if the government is implementing that to a business, then they need to give the business something back. So I think something around a tax credit of some sort over the next couple of years to help just offset that cost that they've had to undergo. The sick days are another one. I agree with giving people sick days, but again, what are you giving the business back in exchange for mandating that, right? We have what's called the Small Business Roundtable. It's called the BC Small Business Roundtable. It was implemented about 13 years ago under the Ministry of Small Business and Red Tape Reduction Ministry. What a concept. Where did that ministry go? Right. And that ministry turned into the Jobs, Economic Development, Innovation Ministry, which has nothing to do, like they don't do any work with small or micro businesses at all. It's mostly focused on tech from what I've seen working on these boards. And so some sort of a reorganization to give micro and small business some attention. Thank you very much, which means potentially even a small to micro business tax cut. Like I don't want to promise anything, but that's where my head's at. Like we need to give everybody a bit of a breath. And again, pilot programs are great for that, right? So you can do 2 or 3 year implementation of these things just to kind of get people going again. And then, the interest rates are going to start dropping, right? So I think just today I was listening to a podcast that by next February, there'd be down a whole point. By next summer, maybe down to like those 2s or 3s. You guys are in the business. And I'm like, yes.
Aggressive. Yeah.
So I'm feeling good that like by next summer, maybe we're breathing again. Like, look, I could sit here for hours and we could pound out policy, but I think we need these small, quick tweaks, like quick little ones, just to kind of get the things moving again. And then, of course, like our industries, LNG is a big one for me. I think once we get that fired up, that's going to be selling LNG product across the world, which then is revenue for the province, which we can then reinvest into green energy solutions, right? And you've seen that in California. That's what they've done. That's a bit of a longer road, but I do think we need to find ways to generate a lot of tax income into the province in order to get this budget balanced out. There's a whole bunch of other things I could go on and on about, like rejigging the whole healthcare system. We've got 74 vice presidents there, each earning $300,000 a year, whatever they're earning. There's like a whole bunch of fat in there. And then we've got $4 billion contingency. So once Steve and I are in, then